Smith Welding and Restoration, Adam Niffen here. Let's check out, see what we got in the shop today. We had 1990, oh goodness, I think it's a 98 4x4. Alright, got a customer, he just wants to do the basics to get it back on the road. I want to show you a little something here. You watch. I'm not positive, but I think we're going to have a bearing issue as well as a ball joint. That lower ball joint right there is just fried. I put a pry bar on it. It moves in and out of that socket. If that were to come loose, you'd lose the whole front suspension. It'd be interesting. So we're going to get the wheels off of this. Playing sexy assistant today is Jeremy Cocaine. And he's got a board and a jack, and we're going to get this up in the air. And we're getting another stand on the other side, just like this one. Get it up safe. Now, we're not trying to lift the tires a mile off the ground, okay? All we're trying to do is get them up off so I can remove them. We know these are fried. We have the ball joint parts. We don't have the wheel bearing parts, so we need to get the wheels off, see where we're at. Alright, back at you on this GMC ball joint replacement. Yes, the wheel bearing shot on the side. The other side is serviceable, so we're not even going to mess with it. Should you do them in pairs? Absolutely. On this application, you take the bolts out, usually the rivets from the factory in the top ball joint. You just hammer chisel those off or whatever, and it comes out pretty easy. The bottom ball joint, on the other hand, is a spline pressure type fitting. That there you can rent from your local auto parts store. I have a 4x4 ball joint service kit. Harbor Freight special right there. It was, I want to say, 80 bucks when I bought it 5 years ago. Let me say it's made its money back tenfold. And right now we're just working to bottom out. See, you got a bunch of cups and all this stuff to set it up. We're trying to bottom out that ball joint there. That's where we're at right now. We got the knuckle inside. We're going to try to pull the wheel bearing from inside and on the vise, and it wasn't really that successful. So we're going to put it back on the truck and pull the wheel bearing then, because it's neither here nor there. We got 4 feet of leverage for a 22 millimeter wrench. 3 mil, I don't know, big fucking wrench. You know, if that breaks because it got between a ball joint and 4 feet of leverage, snap-on comes tomorrow. For all you other folks, Sears. Only thing that really makes Craftsman that, or Snap-on that much better than Sears, Snap-on guy shows up to me. We'll show you when we get this assembly back together. Good morning! It's actually after lunch here. Here we are with the suspension. Upper ball joint put in. You had 2 sets of nuts and 2 sets of bolts, 1 set of nuts for this assembly. We got to throw the cotter pin in still. You can see the slot for it. Lower ball joint in. That was the bugger. You had to use a 4-wheel drive service ball joint kit to press that into place. I knocked it out. I heated up this right here on the steering, on the lower control arm. I heated up the control arm and I beat the old ball joint out. I broke the greaser off and just beat the old ball joint out. It's easier than trying to set up the apparatus to push it. We had to remove the upper ball joint. Where the hell am I? We had to remove the upper ball joint in order to get the press. We actually lifted the control arm and had the screw for the press up underneath the control arm, and we had to use a bar, a 4-foot leverage bar, and a wrench. I believe I showed you that. Alright, so we got the ball joints in. Next attack is this right here. See where that bolt's loose? Let me show you why. That is a bad wheel bearing, okay? I had to take trusty old cutting torch. I use it more like a rosebud to heat with, I've got a plasma cutter, so I don't really cut with it anymore. I heated this up to where I heated this up on each side of this section where this threads through the knuckle, not the housing. You don't want to heat the bolt, you don't want to heat the housing. It won't do anything to heat the housing but make it harder to remove. It'll expand this inside the knuckle. Heat causes steel to expand, so we expanded this. This got hotter than the bolt inside of it did, which then allowed me to turn that. These aren't right. These bolts aren't right. That one's even chewed up. I don't know what I'm going to do. I may just take them in and dress them, take them down to a solid 14 millimeter, or somewhere between 14 and 15. And they're not a standard, so I don't know what the hell will happen, or if they've been cleaned up previously to me, which is possible. So I'm going to get on the next. I'm going to get this bolt out. I'll get on the next bolt and show you the heating process and turning the wrench. You can see up here, I just tried hooking a 14 on it and beating the wrench over, and it's just tearing up that bolt. So, duh moment for the day. See this shit? I went in there with a wrench, and then I got to moving stuff around. Peekaboo! One of the bolts right through there. So now I'm playing the smarter man. You can see how beat up those are. Heating up the steering knuckle at the bolt. You want to be careful not to light anything else on fire. You get this grease all over the place. It's not glowing yet. We don't want it quite to glow. See all the trash that I'm burning off. That's what we're looking at. We want to expand that threaded hole up around the bolt. Okay, so I heated that up, and that was a bolt that was really damaged. The other socket I used was a 15. This one's a 14. I just hammered it onto there. So it should be interesting getting this bolt out of there, which whatever, I'll put the socket in the vise and beat on it if I have to. Moral of the story is we got it out. I may leave it on there. One useful thing is you can leave it on there, get it tightened back into place with the new part, and then just beat the socket off of it. Life of this vehicle, it probably won't see another wheel bearing, so I'm not that worried about it. I probably ruined this socket beating it on there like that, but I don't care. I pay a whole lot just to have that stamped on my tools. They'll make it right. So now what I'm going to do is get that little guy down there. I'm going to show you, the same heating process all over again. Socket through there. I'll show you when I get this heat shield off, because it comes off when you get the last one of those off, and see about getting this wheel bearing out. I may have to heat the knuckle to get it out, or get an air chisel or a chisel. I might just beat on it with a hammer. We'll figure this out. Okay, so that bolt down there, looking at it sideways, that bolt right there, had to heat it up, and I actually had to beat the 14 millimeter socket on. See this wire? This is your wheel sensor. Like most sensors, it's like a guitar pickup. A lot of your camshaft position sensors and things like that, they're like a guitar pickup. It's a little magnetic pickup, and there's something inside the on this one, it's probably little tabs on the axle that rotates. It's got a little hex bolt in it. We'll set that aside, and we just wriggle that out. That is the wheel sensor, the ABS sensor, wheel speed sensor, whatever they want to call it. I don't know what it's called on this model. It's a wheel sensor. tells you brakes when to lock up and when not to. Alright, so we got pretty much everything loose. I smacked it just to see where I was at with the hammer. And it's coming out pretty easy. Should just wriggle out now. Inspect this, inspect your axle splines. That's what locks into your wheel bearing. That's what gives you the four-wheel drive. That is the power of the four-wheel drive. That all looks like it's behaving like it's supposed to. This lip, inspect it. I mean, it came out really easy, so I'm not that worried about it. Usually you want to take a die grinder and clean up that whole inside lip. It's still greasy inside there, so we're not in bad shape.